the state of our union is strong because our people are strong. Together, we are building a safe, strong, and proud America. We have created 2.4 million new jobs. African American unemployment stands at the lowest rate ever. The stock market has smashed one record after another. We enacted the biggest tax cuts and reforms in American history. We have ended the war on beautiful, clean coal. We repealed the core of the disastrous Obamacare. The era of economic surrender is totally over. It is also time to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. We will continue our fight until ISIS is defeated. We proudly stand for the national anthem. It's time to reform. These outdated immigration rules and finally bring our immigration system into the 21st century, because Americans are dreamers too. This, in fact, is our new American moment. There has never been a better time to start living the American dream. So let's come together, set politics aside, and finally get the job done. The people dreamed this country. The people built this country. And it's the people who are making America great again.
Wednesday morning to you. A live look outside right now, a much quieter scene than it was yesterday, that's for sure. President Trump delivering a powerful first State of the Union speech touting a strong, safe, and proud America.
Yeah, it was the third longest address ever. The president laying out his aggressive agenda, calling for Democrats and Republicans to come together to put America first. You are watching Fox and Friends First on this Wednesday morning. I'm Rob Schmidt.
And I'm Jillian Mealy. Despite some Democrats refusing to stand, President Trump's speech was interrupted by applause 111 times. But who's counting?
Yeah, that was a lot of applause, wasn't it? We have Fox News team coverage, beginning with Griff Jenkins. They're live in Washington. Hey, Griff, what's going on?
Good morning, Rob and Jillian. The president spoke for an hour and 20 minutes, striking a tone of unity and optimism, calling for bipartisanship and a new American moment, saying there's never been a better time to start living the American dream, as he highlighted his administration's successes in the first year, touting a growing economy, job creation, and the passage of historic tax reform.
Since the election, we have created 2.4 million new jobs. Unemployment claims have hit a 45-year low. The stock market has smashed one record after another, gaining $8 trillion and more in value. We repealed the core of the disastrous Obamacare. The individual mandate is now gone.
Looking ahead, he called on Congress to produce an infrastructure bill, giving more detail on his longstanding promise to rebuild an aging and crumbling system.
Tonight, I'm calling on Congress to produce a bill that generates at least $1.5 trillion for the new infrastructure investment that our country so desperately needs. Together, we can reclaim our great building heritage. And we will do it with American heart, and American hands, and American grit.
On the foreign policy front, he had tough words for the rogue regime in North Korea, warning of a growing threat.
No regime has oppressed its own citizens more totally or brutally than the cruel dictatorship in North Korea. North Korea's reckless pursuit of nuclear missiles could very soon threaten our homeland.
And he reached out to Democrats on immigration, selling his plan, noting past administration's failure to deliver, telling them it's time to get the job done.
These four pillars will produce legislation that fulfills my ironclad pledge to sign a bill that puts America first. So let's come together, set politics aside, and finally get the job done.
And Democrats sat mostly stone-faced throughout the speech, offering little applause and refusing at times to stand. In Massachusetts, Congressman Joe Kennedy delivered the Democrat response. Rob, Jillian?
Yeah, he certainly did, and we're going to talk more about that. And, of course, Nancy Pelosi was just the best of the night. I mean, the look on her face.
Every time.
Yeah.
I don't think she enjoyed it.
She's going to take years off of her life, I think. I mean, she was just so angry. Griff, thank you so much. All right, many Democrats, of course, blatantly refusing to stand or even clap despite President Trump's policies, which he says help all Americans.
The Congressional Black Caucus seemingly sitting on their hands as Trump mentioned the historically low unemployment rate for African Americans. Yep, there she is. Democrats staying seated during applause for a number of topics, including tax reform, the DACA deal, even when the president mentioned God.
Congressman Joe Kennedy and Senator Bernie Sanders using their rebuttal to, as expected, slam the president.
Many have spent the last year anxious, angry, afraid. We are bombarded with one false choice after another. Bullies may land a punch. They may leave a mark. But they have never, not once in the history of our United States, managed to match the strength and spirit of a people united in defense of their future.
I don't understand how a president of the United States can give a State of the Union speech and not mention climate change. The American people do not want a president who is compulsively dishonest, who is a bully, who actively represents the interest of the billionaire class, who is anti-science, and who is trying to divide us up.
Well, more than a dozen Democrats ended up boycotting the State of the Union, including Maxine Waters, who is planning to deliver her rebuttal tonight.
Should be interesting. Here now to react is former presidential speechwriter for George W. Bush, Ned Ryan. Thanks for joining us this morning. Now, let's start off by what did you think about the speech?
Oh, I thought it was a magnificent speech. I thought Trump did exactly what he was supposed to do. He went in, he laid out his list of accomplishments from year one, and then he laid out a bold vision for the future. And I love the fact that he went and he started touting. I mean, think about it. In the first month, roughly, since the tax reform has been put in place, we've seen 3 million American workers receive bonuses from about 300 companies. And just laying out the success of that. And the Democrats just sat there stone-faced. Again, I was cracking up at Nancy Pelosi's face. What were they going to say? Not one of them voted for the tax reform that has already impacted millions and millions of American workers and putting real money back into their pockets. And so I love that. I loved a lot of the lines in the speech. The era of economic surrender is over. There's never been a greater time to live the American dream. I also loved a couple other things. He kept on using the phrase, together we can. And I love the fact that he used that again. It was a unifying speech. And I thought the overall theme is one of Americanism. His policies are for all Americans, regardless of race, regardless of party. It lifts all of them to a better place, better jobs, better wages, a better future. And I love the fact that every person sitting in the box that he was referencing was really highlighting through their stories the policies that he's put in place and the positive impact of that agenda. And I love, there were two very powerful moments in my mind. The parents of the girl slain by the MS-13 gang members, and then the North Korean gentleman holding up his crutches. Those were two extremely powerful moments. Again, I think Donald Trump, as always, when it comes time, with his joint address last year, Saudi Arabia, Poland, last night, he wound up and he hit a home run.
Well, Ned, I've always seen good and bad in both political parties here, but I think right now what the president is doing and what he's led the Republicans to do is focus on issues that really do matter and that really will rally people to vote and really affect everybody. Yeah. And I think the problem with the Democrats right now is they're all wrapped up in identity politics. They're all wrapped up in, Bernie Sanders' biggest complaint is that he didn't talk about climate change. I mean, that is an issue. I'll give them that.
No, that's exactly.
But does it affect people the way it does a tax cut?
That's exactly a great point, Rob. I was just going to make that. The Democrats are complaining about climate change, and Donald Trump is talking about real jobs and real money and wage increase and a bright future and the economy taking off. That's why he won in 2016. That's why many in the working class who have voted for Obama once or twice voted for Donald Trump in 2016, because he actually was addressing what their needs and what impacted their daily lives, not the climate change. And the thing that I thought was also interesting about Kennedy's response, he was talking about fear, he was talking about all these things. Donald Trump was talking about hope and a brighter future. And I think it's really, when you look at how the Democrats are responding, not only inside the chamber, but in their responses to his speech, his is one of hope, theirs is one of fear. And I thought there was a very clear difference in how they addressed, in their addresses.
Absolutely. Ned Ryan, thank you for joining us this morning. And we want to know what you think about the president's first State of the Union and his message to Americans. Make sure to email us at friendsfirst@foxnews.com. You can post on our Facebook page, our Twitter, Instagram pages. You can basically find us anywhere. President Trump's first State of the Union, putting America first.
Together, we are rediscovering the American way. There has never been a better time to start living the American dream. Americans are dreamers, too.
So what did voters think? Brand new dials just in overnight. Lee Carter is live with those coming up next.
A guy who took a bullet, almost died, and was back to work 3.5 months later. The legend from Louisiana, Congressman Steve Scalise.
I saw a little